I would say is just try to be just a little bit better than you were the previous day. So every day, just try to be a little bit better. Don't put too much pressure on yourself trying to just jump from here to here in 1 week or one day. I say treat it like the game of basketball. Like if the fourth quarter start, you're down 12 points. You can't score a 12-pointer shot. You can't score an 11-pointer shot or a 10-pointer shot. You just got to take it one possession at a time and work your way back into the game. That's the same way that you treat your individual game, your individual skill set, every single thing, every aspect. Just try to be a little bit better each day. And that way you're making progress. And as you continuously do it and have the discipline to continuously do it, it'll continue to grow.
Good. Well, I'm really glad to have you on the podcast today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course, of course. Okay, so we're gonna take it from the top, from the beginning. So what are your earliest memories with basketball and what really got you started with the sport?
I started playing around 10 years old. That's when my parents separated.
Mhm.
Before that, I used to play baseball. My dad used to take me out every day since I was 6 years old to play baseball and get better at baseball. So that's where my work ethic, I feel like it came from me
Mhm.
training all the time. Because he used to make me train even when the kids was out, playing. I see my friends out playing hide and go seek or riding their bikes, and they always run right behind me or my dad, and while we on the field, and you know what I'm saying. So I feel like that transferred over to me being, middle school, high school, college, pros, just the same mentality. I'm always like high school. I was sitting there and be practicing all the time, and my best friends would go partying and stuff. So it transferred from them playing in the playgrounds and stuff to going to parties and hanging out. And I'm just still doing the same thing. But I loved it and had a passion for, I guess, just getting better and just me versus me every day, trying to beat what I did the previous day. So that's where I was with it. So once my parents separated, my mom started having my brother and I go to the Boys and Girls Club. And that's where I started playing basketball. And I just literally, it sounds like a fake story, but I went in there, picked the ball up and threw it from the door and it went in, nothing but net. And that feeling that I got from that is something that you just couldn't duplicate with anything else in my life at the time. So that's when, but it's what made me fall in love with it. And of course, you want to make that shot every time. So we start practicing and getting better and better and better. So that's where that came from.
Of course, that's good. That's good that you kind of grew up around like hard work and stuff like that. It's kind of something that's been instilled in you since you were younger. So,
Exactly.
with that being said, so was there a point like where you realized like, oh, I want to pursue this as a professional career, or was it just always like that?
At the beginning, I'd say probably like seventh grade, I started to notice that all the work that I was putting in, I was catching everybody that was playing already. And I was taller than everybody, and everything was starting to come together at a fast pace. And the way that I was getting better and the way that I was getting recognition for it, I was like, I love this. I love the feeling of it. I love playing. I love every aspect of it. Maybe it felt like I love everything except for the game at first, because except for when it's game time, because you get nervous and all that stuff before the game. But all the
Mhm.
practicing and stuff that comes along with it, all the conditioning and everything like that, that's what I was falling in love with or fell in love with. So I say around seventh grade, I was like, once I overcame that fear in eighth grade, I just knew it was a wrap after that. I was probably the best middle schooler around and the only person dunking and all that kind of stuff. So, everybody was like admiring me. So I figured like, all right, this is me right here.
Okay, that's good. So you started to experience that at the end of middle school. So walk me through your high school experience. How was that? And did you play like club basketball, AAU, stuff like that?
High school, my first year, the coach of the varsity team said that he wanted me to play for them. And I was like, I don't know, man. I want to, be with my homies that came with me. You know what I'm saying? So, but this is old school. This is old school, Coach Williams. That mentality, it's a different kind of toughness than what today is. You know what I'm saying? So I'm, 42 years old. So I'm from back then. I'm from all that stuff back in the day, all that crazy, yelling at you, get in your face. I seen him. He ain't never hit me, but hit players and throw the ball at people and all that crazy stuff that used to be allowed back in the days. I'm from that, so he was like, "You don't have an option. You playing here. If you're gonna play on varsity team, and I'm putting you on this in the starting five." But basically I had to earn that part. But it was another big man that was older than me, and he was bigger and stronger. But the coach wanted me to battle with him so that I could become tougher. But I was more like at the time, like this is how I started basketball. I started playing when I was like 5'6". And I said, if I don't grow another even though I was tall for my age, I was 10 years old, 5'6". I was like, even if I don't grow another inch, I'd be a point guard in the NBA. And I didn't start, so all I worked on was ball handling, ball handling, ball handling. I didn't even work on too much shooting. By the time I was 6'2", that's when I started shooting all the time, less ball handling, a lot of shooting. And then it just kept getting like that. So by the time I was 15, I was a 6'7.5" guard. That's how I played. That's what I was telling you. So I grew up playing guard most of my high school career or whatever, but because of my height on defense, I'm gonna play big man position. So you look at the numbers on the paper, it's gonna show that, I had, 20 something points, double digit rebounds, a few blocks, all that kind of stuff. So it looked like a big man stat line, but I was getting most of my points from jump shots, threes, and stuff like that, coming off the dribble and things like that on offense. So I was
Hmm.
kind of like ahead of my time with the way that basketball is played now.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You're definitely ahead of your time because now you see high school, college, like point guards, they're not usually super like small anymore. Of course, you have your
Right.
outliers, but there's a lot of 6'7", six
Right.
nine guys. You see that a lot now, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how was the translation from high school to college? So walk me through like your recruiting process first and then actually getting there and playing. How was that?
Yeah, like I was telling you, like from middle school to high school, I mean, I started varsity in ninth grade. At the end of 10th grade is when I started getting these looks and being in the newspaper all the time. And they was like, this is something real. This guy right here is something real. I was, ranked in the country and ranked in, in my class or whatever, all that crazy stuff. And that's kind of like when it started. And I say about uh by the end of 11th grade, I want to say if you divided USA in half, every major school from Kentucky all the way in has sent me letters. They didn't necessarily say they want to offer me a scholarship, but they have sent me letters, And that at the time, you take them to school and be like, look, bro, like, look, you know what I'm saying? So it looked like, all these schools are recruiting you, but that as a person looking back, you already know that they said they're gonna send those out to the top 100 kids or whatever. And, like I said, I was top 100 at the time, but if you divide USA in half, I feel like Kansas was the only school that it was Kansas or Kentucky were the only schools that did one of those two was the only school that didn't send me letters. And then I got a letter from way out there, UCLA and USC. But besides that, nobody on the west side was recruiting me. But everybody from down Florida State all the way up to Syracuse and all these crazy big schools and of course, I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina. So right around me is Duke, UNC, and NC State. So all home games for Duke, UNC, NC State, and Wake Forest, I was going to if I didn't have practice or a game because they was always inviting me. So I would take, my mom this time, my mom and my brother, or this time I take one of my mentors or the person that's been beating me up since I was 14. He used to play me one on one and flip flops and still beat me. So I kept telling myself if I could beat him, then I'd be able to beat any college player. And he'd take me to some of the, he loved UNC, so he'd be wanting to take me to the UNC games and stuff like that. So I had access to go to those games and be in the locker room, listen to Coach K talk, all this stuff, man. I was around all that. And then Coach K come out talk to me and sit me in a corner of a long table and he sit at the other, like right beside me at the corner. It's like and nobody else inside of the room, and he just whispering and talking about, if it's just breaking the game down and breaking down what had happened if I came to the school and all this kind of stuff. And but when it was all said and done, I chose NC State because they wanted me to play But they told me they wanted me to play guard, then forward. Everybody else said they wanted me to play forward, then maybe a little guard. UNC and Duke, both of them said they wanted me to learn how to play with my back to the basket and gain 40 pounds. I was like, man, it's not at all. I can't even, you know what I'm saying? Like, I
Mhm.
never played with my back to the basket, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't know, none of that kind of stuff. But NC State was like, "Yo, come on, the way that you play is how you would fit into this team, and we playing, all play basically all guard mentality type deal. Even though it wasn't all guard, but the setup, the offensive setup was, I can get down and do guard stuff even if I was playing the four. So, and then it was like I said, me, my mom, and my brother. NC State was the closest 12 to 15-minute drive from my mother's house. My brother 2 years younger than me, so it was like it made more sense to go there. So that's where I started at as far as college. That's where I went to college at. So I started there, redshirted my first year because I had surgery. I had to get surgery in my foot, not my foot, both my knees. That was the knees, both of my knees. I had tendonitis because I was right at the end of my 12th grade year. I went out to the track team to talk to my cousin, and I seen that. I was like, "Yo, what is this? Really how they have to jump for the high jump?" And then he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "You serious?" I put my book bag down and just ran and jumped over it regular. And then the track coach saw me. He said, "Mike, get your over here." And he was like, "Yo," he's like, "Go change clothes." And I was like, "Nah, coach, I want to do this." He was like, "Nah, I'm dead serious." And he's taught me into it. He taught me the right form and stuff. But I was running on asphalt, and that's what messed up like my knees because I've been playing on wood, and I only played basketball on wood for the previous years before that. So me doing that in the friction or whatever, they said it kind of like messed up my knees because I was really training. I was training hard for the track. I became so good at it that they said I was 2 inches away from qualifying for the Olympics. Like I became good. I kept getting higher and higher and higher, and I was
Mhm.
like really taking it serious. I even went to the NC State basketball coach because NC State sent me um, scholarships to be on the track team. I was like, look, I could take this scholarship for the track team, and you use my scholarship to give to another player, and I can still be on both teams, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. And he said, nah, Mike, I want you to concentrate fully on basketball and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like I said, me doing all that stuff on that kind of surface messed up both of my knees to the point I had to get surgery, and it was hurting too bad after I started my career at NC State. So they was like, if you play one more game, you don't qualify the red shirt, or if you shut it down now, you can red shirt. So I had to shut it down and make sure, see if I really needed the surgery, which I did. So that's why I ended up red shirt my first year in college. And then I was able to sit down and acknowledge everything that was going on and being like, damn, he should be on the court and this guy's not playing. And, it's all about, political stuff and all that kind of stuff. And you realize that once you get into, at the higher rankings of this kind of stuff. And I was like, it wasn't a good fit for me because the next year when it was time for me to play, they was promising me this and promising me that, especially the assistant coaches, man, they really wanted me to play to the point that after I transferred, the coaches became head coaches in other schools and was trying to get me to come play for them. But it just felt too close to, what I'm saying, what I've been through where I couldn't really commit to going to play for them again. You know what I'm saying? But it all
Mhm.
worked out, I guess, for me.
Okay, that's good. So I know you have like a really long career playing pro and still to this day are playing. So
Yeah.
what was the process of you signing your first contract? Was it right out of college or how was that?
Yeah, but first I got invited to all these NBA combines and all that kind of stuff. And once again, this is crazy. I was playing in every NBA team knew this because whenever you go to these NBA camps, they have the specialized doctor for each team give you a physical from the top of your head all the way down to your toes, literally. You got to go through the scan and all that stuff. So I couldn't hide it even if I wanted to, but I had a cracked bone in my foot. And it was the same one that Grant Hill had, Hall of Famer Grant Hill. And actually, his good friend put me on the phone with him when I was going through the process of trying to recover from it. And he gave me a lot of good information to make sure that I was able to have the surgery one time, heal the first time, and not have to ever worry about it again. He said, if you really want to heal, you know what I'm saying, this is how you got to go through the process because the doctors are going to try to get you to start performing and playing the first second that you possibly can. But for you to take control of your own body and to like this is an investment. So of course you as a player, you're gonna want to get on the court as fast as you can as well. But at the same time, would you prefer to wait a couple of weeks or even a couple of months and be able to play the rest of your life without re-injuring it, or trying to get on the court the first second that the doctor tell you you can, and then you re-injure something because it wasn't strong enough? So he was giving me information like that I would have never thought of. I took full advantage of that phone call and never had to look back from that. But like I said, um, I remember trying out for the Clippers specifically. They told me the assistant coach pulled me aside. Like, you know what I'm saying? They always do all that talking, but the assistant coach pulled me aside and said, "Look, Mike, this is what it is. We really, really like you. We really feel like you're skilled. You have more than enough potential to be on the roster." But he said, this is how I'm gonna explain it to you. If there's a brand new Bentley over here for 300,000 and another brand new Bentley over here for 300,000, but the dealer told us that they took the engine out and put a new engine in. Which one would you go with? And I said the one that they didn't have to do anything to the engine to. He said exactly. So you being injured right now, we don't a team wouldn't want to invest. You know, the minimum at the time was 300,000. That's why he used the Bentley as the metaphor. He said we wouldn't want to invest 300,000 into a car, not knowing if it's gonna work and if it's gonna need a new engine. So he was just basically breaking it down like that. So he was like, prove to us that you're not hurt, come back, exactly 1 year later, what I'm saying? We'll be right here, we're not going nowhere, and prove to us that you know what I'm saying, that you fully recovered, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll give you more than another chance and all that kind of stuff, man. So that's the kind of talking that I heard from numerous teams. Utah Jazz, Sacramento Kings, Chicago Bulls. They put me aside for real, and they made me feel like they was about to draft me. Mark Cuban called me after the draft and said, "Look, man, I know about your injury. I know what you're going through, and I'm sorry you had to sit through the draft. But we want you to come out here and finish your rehab here, and then try out for the team. Like, and we'll take care of the finances and all that stuff." And so I was down for it, but less than a week later, man, my agent called me like, "Look, we got you. I mean, you could show decision, but I got you you got a contract sitting on the table. It was 6 figures, and I seen all them zeros, man. I was like, so yeah, I went to
Yeah.
Turkey my first year. That first year, when I went to the airport, my brother came. It was, my brother and my mom and my stepdad, and that was the first and only time my brother, when he came to send me off or see me off, that he cried. Like it was like I was like, man, I'll be right back, bro. You know what I'm saying? I was trying my hardest not to cry too, but it's you know what I'm saying. That was my first year, but besides that, man, it's been like, yo, I'm out. Like, all right, man, holla at me when you get back or whatever. He dropped me off at the airport. Yeah, peace out. You know what I'm saying? Love you
Mhm.
too. You know what I'm saying? So but that first year, it just felt like, like somebody going off into the army or something. You know what I'm saying? And I left
Right.
with I left like blinded. I had nobody ahead of me that could give me any kind of advice or none of that stuff. It was just me, just blindly walking into this life of being overseas and stuff. So that's it for what's up right now.
Okay. Yeah, that's got to be a bittersweet experience because one, you're leaving your family, but at the same time, you've kind of been working for this your whole life, and it's like a big opportunity. So,
Yeah, but for me, it wasn't until like the fourth or fifth year when I accepted me being an overseas player, because I had it's not a joke or like most people was, like I could have made it, like, it was reality for me. Like I mean, if it was about just skills, because I did learn a lot about the political side after the fact. Like, dang, if I would have had this agent, if I would have, like, what I'm saying, you learn all that stuff afterwards. Well, I did. But my first 3 or 4 years, I was like, it was like, yo, you overseas? But that's what's up. Like, it's all right, man. But this ain't what I wanted. But then it was like, I called my mom and I was like, I was staring out the window because I didn't even tell her I was on my way. I was just until I was at the airport. I'm at the airport. She's like, where you going? I said, New Zealand. This was my fourth year. And she was like, dang, she always say stuff to make me just put stuff in perspective. And she was like, dang, son. She was like, 4 countries, this your fourth year, fourth country, and doing what you get to do, doing what you love to do. And she was just saying like, 99 out of 100 people can't do what they love to do and make money from it. And this is what you do for a living and blah, blah, blah. And she just kind of broke it down like that. And that was the first time I went out there and I turned from a basketball physical robot to like somebody that just said, you know what, I'm gonna just enjoy it. I went out, hung out with the team. The team go out, I go out with them. They doing this, I do that. Before that, I used to be like, nah, I'm on a mission. They go out, I'd be like, nah, I gotta rest. I'm getting up at 5 a.m. to go work out. We just had a game tonight. I'm going to the NBA. Like I was a damn robot. Even in college, like I didn't even live the college life. I was so focused, man. My teammates, I went out with them once or twice, but besides that, I had the keys to the school gym, and I'd be up in there. I knew how to turn the lights on, get into the locker room. I knew the codes, everything. That's what I was doing my whole career, no matter where I was at. So that's who I was, a robot. So I was like a basketball robot, always a gym rat. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, like I said, it was like that fourth year when it was like my mom kind of like made me realize, like, look, son, this, it's only certain few gonna get into the NBA, but I mean, come on, you live in it. Like so, and then I really sat there, I was staring out the window while she was saying it, watching the airplane take off, and I'm like, yeah, she right. And I went out there and I really enjoyed myself in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that mindset of, like how you're saying like a robot kind of like working, 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 do you think that kind of helped you as a player, or like did it get to a certain point that you had to like stop? Like what made you realize that? And do you think it like helped you as a player coming up, or you had to stop doing that once you got pro? Or do you think it's important to kind of have that balance even as like a high schooler, for example?
I think it's based on the individual as far as having that balance. Because, like I said, even when I mean, I didn't just break down and say I'm not gonna be training. I'm still doing everything, but I'm still young. I can do everything. Like I literally be like, all right, folks, if I go out, then I've definitely got to be up at 5 o'clock. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? There's no it's like the same thing I tell my kids. I made this up. F, 3 F's, F. Focus first, then fun. So if I ever do fun first, it's like I got to double the focus now. So it's like the balance it was never gonna be a balance. It was gonna be imbalance, and it was more of me working and less of the fun. And I feel like I feel the way I think about it now, because I be thinking about people when I was in certain countries that love partying. I was like, they did so much partying and I did so little partying. It's like you got a certain amount of partying before your whole career is over. That's how I see everybody, yo. So it's like I did a little bit here, a little bit there, and I'm still able to keep playing because I'm keeping it all. The main focus stay the main focus. Like I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm in this country, I'm gonna go wild out. I never did that. I was like, I'm in this country. I experienced a little bit here and there, but it's not gonna be some overwhelming type deal where what I'm saying, I lose focus of what I'm here for ever. Like there was never a time where you will be able to say he just played terrible because he was out last night. There's never in my life been that kind of thing with me. I've always been disciplined, and I ain't gonna say I haven't been out, but like I said, it never affected what was first, and I always kept that in my head, even if I was out. You know what I'm saying? Even if I'm out in the middle of the night and all that stuff, I'm thinking about, all right, if I get home at this time and eat this by this time and this time and set my alarm for this time so I can wake up at this time so that I can, do a stretch before I even get on the bus to go here and blah, blah, blah. So I'm always clocking everything to this day. Same thing, because it goes from that kind of life to me and my wife juggling 3 kids. So it's 5 people being juggled around in the household. So it's a lot going on here and there. So you got to figure it out. And if I do this by this time and do this with her by this time and this, it's the same thing, but it's like, a different audience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like with that being said, throughout like high school and college and even to pro, how has your training been kind of orchestrated? Have you been able to like set a schedule, or like how you're saying you want to have that uh not necessarily balance, but you want to keep the 3 F's, the focusing and everything. How are you able to do that? Because I know if you to have longevity, you want to avoid burnout. There's stuff like taking care of your body. How do you keep that balance? And how are you able to kind of set things straight? Like, did you have a schedule? How was your regimen like?
But the main thing that I done, I mean, I'm sure that you hear, but all the successful people ever always say they write everything down. It wasn't until after I came home from my first year overseas, I wrote down every workout that I did to this day. So I can always revert back to this year or that year, right? Even today. So right now I can go back to 2025 or 2030, go back to 2015, 2010 or whatever I need to go back to. Like I felt good this year before I played this season, or I was the strongest this year. What was I doing in the weight room? And you know what I'm saying? And I compete with myself. So I just said this sentence so many times, but my wife knows it by now. But I always say, if you know what I'm saying, I got everything written down. If Mike Bell can beat a younger Mike Bell, then this older Mike Bell is ready today. That's all I. So when I run a suicide, I don't just run the suicide. I time it. And if I can beat what I did 10 years ago at 42 right now, then I'm in great shape. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I go about it. So the only thing that changed now is that I be training my son, and he be wanting to spend time on the soccer field or the basketball court. So I had to adjust. Like last year, I realized, because like I'm crazy with numbers, I realized that if I stopped exactly 17 minutes, and before I would have finished with everything I needed to do for the day, I have enough energy to spend 60 minutes with my son doing whatever he want to do. So that's where I stopped at since last year, and that's been that balance as far as that's concerned.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is like it's important for you to kind of write things down and kind of like even like in the training, timing yourself. And so it gives you more of a sense of you versus you.
Right.
Right. Okay. That's pretty good. I never really heard that from anybody, but it makes a lot of sense. Even most of the time in practices at all different levels, there's different coaches, but it's kind of common in basketball. They're gonna time your suicide. They're gonna time your,
Yeah.
different stuff, different different drills and stuff. And even
Exactly.
like at the pro level, you got combines, you got times you got to meet and stuff like that. So I think that's really good and again gives you a sense of you versus you, so you're not really competing against anybody else, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, so that's how I always been. That's like I said, after my first year overseas, and I didn't know that I was doing it at the time. But then when I came back the next year, I started saying, okay, this felt good and this worked for me. You know what I'm saying? My body felt good when I did because it's like different cycles of different things. Before I went into this season, I felt much better. Before I went into this season, I felt overweight, or I felt like my body was like felt a little stiff. So that it let me know like what I need to do, like as far as if I'm about to sign to go play somewhere, or if I feel like I'm gonna be going within this time frame, then I say, okay, with that said, I'm gonna do this kind of workout. I'm gonna do this thing because this is where I always feel best going overseas or whatever. So it's I got everything down to the science for me and my body and myself and my mentality, all that stuff. So
That's good. That's good. And you can see the longevity in your career and stuff and how you're able to perform in different countries. So like going into the fact that you played in so many different places, and even a question for me, because I've kind of experienced it this season. So how are you able to go into these different playing styles? Because every country has like a different kind of playing style. How are you able to go in there but still kind of play your game?
that's a good question. First of all, before I even go overseas, I asked the owner of the team or the guy that's going to be paying me to have a conference call with the owner, the manager, a translator, and the head coach. And I asked him exactly what he want from me from this team, what he expect from me. I let him know, like, if I'm coming there and I'm not doing what I'm great at or what I do best, then that takes away from him as a coach because now I'm on the court looking sorrier than I'm supposed to be and not performing or executing like I can or like I should. And now that also messes me up because now, outside looking in, I don't look as good. So it messes me up for my next job. So I need to hear from them. And they say it also in front of the owner. This is what we need from you. This is what we expect from you. This is what we want from you. This is the type of player we need you to be. This is the position you'll play. This is the style that we're going to play. And this is where you'll get the ball from, all that kind of stuff. So that's something that I think, let me see, Turkey, Spain, France. It was after France, my third year, when every time I went over before I went to play for a team. That's I do every single time because my experience in France. I went out there, they wanted me to be a big man, and I can't. I mean, I'm 6'10", but in a big country like France, you playing against 7-footers and stuff in the post and stuff, and I was looking terrible at first, until I just started playing my game. But I realized what I had to do to make myself be successful. I need to go into a situation where it's not just about the money, but I fit as far as the basketball style and what the coach want from me. That way, everybody is comfortable, and if this is what the coach is looking for, and that's what I do, then it's a win-win situation for me as a player and for him as a coach as well.
Okay, so it seems like communication is kind of the key
Yeah,
to, getting ready beyond the training and stuff, but even through communication, you're able to see what you need to work on and stuff like that. So I can
yeah,
see that.
yeah.
Okay, okay. Great. So we're gonna end the interview off with a couple quick questions. So the first one is, with all the countries you've played in, what is the best environment you've been able to play in, or your favorite environment?
Uh, as far as the word environment, I feel like any and everybody that play in Japan would say Japan, man. It's like the most beautiful place, the most cleanest place. And what I noticed is it's like the cleanest place, but they don't have any public trash cans nowhere. It was just crazy. Like you never see like no trash nowhere on the grass or nothing nowhere, but it's just clean everywhere. Um, that's one thing that just always stuck out to me. But the people like there, they don't even learn any kind of English in most of the parts of the country. Of course, Tokyo and the other side of the country version of Tokyo is called Osaka. They have some people that speak English, but it's still not like all the other countries I've been to. Like all the other countries, they speak enough English where that you have enough vocabulary to be able to have a conversation with them. So I mean, because of that, man, I personally like Vietnam. That that's one of the I played in a lot of Asian countries, a lot of them, but I feel like Vietnam is the one that makes me feel. It's the one that reminds me of myself the most, man. The way they freely live. um, I'm big on art, tattoos, and stuff like that. They are as well, man. It just feels like a home away from home. So I say Japan and Vietnam as far as the countries that's far overseas. But of course, my wife and I love it here. As far as the Spanish countries that I played in Spain, Mexico, and Costa Rica, and I love it here. Me and my family, and one of my sons were born here, and we've been living here like really living here for over 3 years. So I definitely just even if it's biased, choose this country over the other ones.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's great. And again, how you were saying, how your mom was telling you, like, it's a blessing to be able to, do what you love overseas. It really makes you well traveled and be able to like indulge in different cultures, different foods, just all the little things. So I think
yeah,
that's
that's true.
it's a really good career, and I think it's really worth the hard work beyond actually like playing, just being a well-rounded person who knows a lot of different people from different countries and cultures and
Absolutely.
everything.
Yep, yep.
That's
It's
awesome.
like a cheat code for me now because I mean, even I was just telling my wife last night that the previous night before that, I was talking to one of my ex teammates in Japan, and I mean, I could easily go over there. I just can't leave the family, but I could easily, go other places just because of my connections. People that I played with 10, 15, 20 years ago are now coaches, GMs, and all that kind of stuff. Like, Mike, you still play? Come on out. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like a cheat code for me. But I mean, if I was, in a position to take advantage of it, it's just very hard to think of leaving these kids that get mad if I tell them I got to leave at nighttime to go to practice and I see them in the morning. How pissed off they are from me leaving at nighttime, I can't imagine going to another country unless it really fits the schedule where I can leave and the family follow right behind me because all the kids going to be out of school for the summer or spring break or something like that. Besides that, it's just I don't know. I think those kind of days are behind me. That's why I kind of stay here most for the most part.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, what's one lesson that playing overseas has taught you?
People like I go back home and it's like everybody, I can't even have conversations with people that I grew up with, like my boys. If we all go out, it's like thoughts in my head, but I can't even say it to them. I have to say it to my basketball peers, because I mean it's stuff that you experience, stuff you get exposed to, different lifestyles, cultures, that you realize that like everybody, I mean you just start to realize that everybody is equal and everybody is different, but everybody is equal, and you don't have to be closed minded about one kind of like diverse. You can. I just became diverse, man. Like I just, but like I said, they won't understand it if I was to say some of the things that I've seen and experienced, and be like, yo, how you can be around that? I'm like, yo, it's what I'm saying. It's like I would have never thought I would have either, and I can understand from their point of view how they would feel like that. So I just keep quiet and save those kind of conversations for, like I said, basketball friends, people that's actually lived this life and been overseas. So it's things like that. My kids definitely getting exposed to it. My wife just said to my son 2 days ago. She said, "Do you want a Pop Tart?" He's 6 years old. He said his reply was, "What's that?" So yesterday in the car, I was telling him, I said, "Son, if and when we go back to the States, there are gonna be times, whenever you have to you're not gonna know what everybody else is talking about, and they're gonna be like, 'Yo, you weird,' and they might, make fun of you and stuff like that." And I said, "I'm gonna have plenty of ammunition for you. So you're gonna say stuff like this. Hey, how old were you when you took your picture on your passport?" And they're gonna say, "What's a passport?" And then you're gonna be able to say, "This is what you got when you go from country to country." You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna have a lot of things in the holster for that, because I already know that they're gonna be like, "How you don't know what this is? Why you don't know it?" Like, because bro, I've been around the world. I live, my son, I lived in 3, 4 countries throughout his life or whatever. He was born in China, where COVID went the same year as COVID, and he was born
Wow.
there that same year. Yep. So that's what I'm saying, man. Like he been lived in four or five countries since then, man. So I mean, my older daughter, she been in a couple of more countries than that, because she, after I met, what I'm saying, my wife or whatever, we done had her in Japan and Hong Kong before, So it's crazy, man. So they are gonna go back to the States, like they're gonna be seeing and experiencing stuff for the first time, and people are gonna be like, "How you just experiencing this and you 8 years old, you 12?" Like, you know what I'm saying? But you're gonna say, "Well, why haven't you experienced this?" Because I'm gonna have, like I said, I'm gonna have ammunition for them to pull out, just to be ready for it. So, but yeah, man, that's how I feel though. I feel like me as an adult version of that. Like, but I gained so much knowledge of people and different cultures and stuff, but I just can't. It's like your mind is inside of a box, inside of the city, inside of the state of where we grew up. But mine is like experiencing to the whole world now. I lived and played in 16 or 17 countries. So I don't even, I probably need to sit down and count all of them, but it's a lot. And then I played in a lot more countries. Some of the leagues that I played in, we literally have to fly to the other country to play it in their country. They play for they kind of like the Euro Cup, but it wasn't that. Like I would have to literally fly to Indonesia to play against the Indonesia team. I would literally have to fly from China to Taiwan, from China to, because my team was in China, from China to um, Thailand, or um, what's all these other countries. So I done played in at least 25 countries. So I just been exposed to a lot. So it's just like stuff that I seen, and it's like trying to explain a new color to people in the US. Even my mom, like I just stay quiet now. It's like they won't understand, and I don't know how I'm gonna put this into words. Let me just keep the memory and just keep it moving.
That's nice though.
Yeah.
Like, just give me one piece of advice you would give someone who aspires to be in the position that you're in today.
As far as advice, the one thing that I would say is just try to be just a little bit better than you were the previous day. So every day, just try to be a little bit better. Don't put too much pressure on yourself trying to just jump from here to here in 1 week or one day. I say treat it like the game of basketball. Like if the fourth quarter start, you're down 12 points, you can't score a 12-pointer shot. You can't score 11-pointer shot or a 10-pointer shot. You just got to take it one possession at a time and work your way back into the game. That's the same way that you treat your individual game, your individual skill set, every single thing, every aspect. Just try to be a little bit better each day. And that way you're making progress. And as you continuously do it and have the discipline to continuously do it, it'll continue to grow. That's it.